The thoughts you repeat in silence are not harmless. They are instructions. They shape your emotional state. They shape your reactions. They shape your behavior. And over time, they begin shaping your life. So if the same painful thought keeps repeating, the same internal reality keeps getting stronger. And if that internal reality keeps getting stronger, the same emotions return, the same patterns return, and very often, the same results return. Welcome to part 2 of step 2. This is where the shift begins. In part 1, you identified your dominant negative thought patterns. You saw what repeats. You saw what keeps showing up. You saw what has been quietly shaping your emotions, your reactions, your behavior, and your daily experience. You saw the patterns that have been living in the background, but influencing almost everything in the foreground. Now, we take the next step. We do not just observe those patterns anymore. We rewrite them. Because once a pattern has been identified, it should not remain unconscious power. It should become conscious material, something you can work with, something you can challenge, something you can reshape. This is not about lying to yourself. This is not about pretending life is perfect. This is about changing the internal language that keeps feeding the same emotional state. Because when the inner sentence changes, the inner state can start changing too. And when the state changes, the life built from that state begins to change with it. Now we arrive at the core of this step. This is where you begin writing the new sentences. This is where you stop only naming the pattern and start replacing its direction. Once you know your dominant negative patterns, you begin writing new sentences as if the problem is no longer dominating you. That does not mean you deny your current reality. It means you stop giving the old pattern total authority over your identity. Instead of speaking from the version of you that feels trapped, you begin speaking from the version of you that is moving out of the trap. That distinction matters a lot. You write as if the old pattern is no longer the central truth of your life, as if something inside you has already started shifting, as if the version of you saying that sentence is already thinking differently, feeling differently, holding themselves differently, and moving through life differently. This matters because the sentence is not just information. It is direction. It is identity in language form. It is a signal to the nervous system about where you are going. So your new sentence should follow a few important rules. First, it must move away from the problem, not circle around it, not keep feeding it. Second, it must feel emotionally better than the old sentence. Not flat, not lifeless, better. Third, it must feel personal, not generic, not like something copied from a poster. Fourth, it must create internal movement. It should shift something in your body, your breathing, your posture, or your emotional state. And fifth, it should feel believable enough to enter, even if it still stretches you. Because the goal is not fantasy. The goal is emotional redirection. You should be able to say, "This sentence gives me a stronger feeling. This sentence makes me breathe differently. This sentence lifts something in me. This sentence feels like movement. This sentence gives me relief, power, calm, confidence, or hope." That is how you know you are getting closer. A good sentence is not just intellectually correct. It is emotionally active. It should make you feel something. Because a sentence that feels dead will not compete with a pattern that feels alive. But a sentence that carries emotional energy can begin creating a new internal experience. Now let's go deeper into something very important. The feeling matters, not a little, a lot. Because rewiring is not only about language, it is about language linked to emotion. Words create images. Images create emotional reactions, and emotional reactions strengthen or weaken patterns. That means a sentence is never just a sentence. A sentence triggers meaning. Meaning triggers imagery. Imagery triggers chemistry. Chemistry influences state, and state influences what gets reinforced. This is why the same person can say 10 different affirmations every morning and still feel unchanged. Because if the words do not activate anything meaningful, they stay superficial. If you write a sentence that sounds technically correct, but you feel nothing, then it is too weak. It may sound smart, it may sound positive, it may sound polished, but if your nervous system does not respond, it is not doing enough work. Dead words do not shift live patterns. A weak sentence cannot overpower a deeply rehearsed emotional habit. But if you write a sentence that creates relief in your chest, calm in your nervous system, strength in your posture, or a quiet sense of possibility in your body, then that sentence is alive. And alive sentences create movement. They create a different internal signal. And that signal is what you begin rehearsing instead of the old one. Now, let's make this real, because this becomes much easier when you can actually see how the shift works. Let's start with financial fear and shame. Someone is struggling financially. They are in debt. Bills keep arriving. Unexpected expenses keep showing up. They work hard, but it still feels like they cannot catch up. And over time, the internal language becomes heavy. I don't want to check the mailbox. There's probably another problem. I work hard, and it still isn't enough. I'm always behind. I'm failing. I can never relax. Now notice something important. The problem is not only the financial reality, it is also the repeated emotional message being attached to that reality. Fear, pressure, shame, defeat. So the rewritten sentence must interrupt that emotional direction. Not with fake luxury language. Not with something disconnected like, I'm a millionaire now, if the body rejects it instantly. But with something that moves the person toward relief, stability, and strength. For example, I feel more financially stable and in control every day. I handle money with more calm, clarity, and confidence now. I am creating more order, more solutions, and more peace around money. Those sentences work better because they do not glorify the problem, and they do not force an unbelievable fantasy. They create movement out of shame and into steadiness. Now take someone trapped in self-doubt. Their internal dialogue sounds like this. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. I can't do this. Other people are more capable than me. I'll probably fail anyway. Over time, those thoughts do not just create insecurity. They affect posture, action, decision-making, visibility, consistency. The person hesitates more, questions themselves more, pulls back more. And then the lack of action becomes new evidence for the same belief. So the new sentence must introduce trust, not arrogance, not perfection. Trust. For example, I trust myself more and more every day. I am becoming more capable, more steady, and more confident. I move forward with growing self-trust now. These kinds of sentences create expansion instead of collapse. They shift the identity from I am broken to I am developing strength. And that is a far more powerful direction. Now, imagine someone whose dominant pattern is stress and overwhelm. Their mind keeps saying, this is too much. I can't handle this. Everything is piling up. I'm exhausted. I don't even know where to start. This pattern often creates shallow breathing, mental pressure, emotional reactivity, and paralysis. The person is not only dealing with tasks, they are dealing with a nervous system that is constantly signaling overload. So the new sentence should create calm, order, and internal capacity. For example, I handle life with more calm and clarity now. I move through my responsibilities with more order and ease. I feel more grounded, more capable, and more steady. Notice the difference. The old sentence tightens the system. The new sentence opens it. That opening matters. Now take anger, irritation, or constant frustration. The internal language sounds like this. People are so stupid. This is so annoying. Nothing ever goes smoothly. Why is everything difficult? I'm tired of this. At first, this may feel justified, but repeated anger trains the body into constant resistance, and resistance is exhausting. So the new sentence should not be weak. It should create calm power. For example, I move through my day with much more calm now. I protect my peace more easily now. I respond with more control, more space, and more steadiness. These sentences do not deny that annoying things happen. They simply stop giving irritation full control over the internal state. And now take rejection, insecurity, or worthiness wounds. The internal thoughts might sound like this. They don't really care about me. I don't belong. They're judging me. I'm not important. I always get overlooked. This pattern often creates social tension, emotional dependency, overthinking, and self-protection. So the new sentence should create security from within. For example, I feel secure in myself now. I belong in my own energy. I carry more self-worth, calm, and confidence into my interactions. I'm enough, and I feel more grounded in that every day. These sentences begin shifting the source of worth from outside approval to internal stability. And that is a major rewiring move. Now, let me give you an important warning. Because this part matters more than most people think. Your subconscious mind responds strongly to repetition, language, emotion, and imagination. That means what you repeatedly say to yourself matters. What you repeatedly listen to matters. What you repeatedly picture matters. What you repeatedly rehearse internally matters. Because repetition is training, whether you realize it or not. So be careful. If you keep repeating, I'm broke, I'm tired, I can't, I'm stressed, I'm not enough, nothing works for me, then you are not just describing your state. You are rehearsing it. You are reinforcing it. You are helping that pattern stay familiar. And familiar patterns become automatic patterns. You become the result of your most repeated internal thinking patterns. That is why this work matters. Because repeated thoughts become emotional habits. Emotional habits become behavioral habits. Behavioral habits become life patterns. And life patterns, repeated long enough, begin to look like identity. So choose carefully what you repeat. So how do you know whether your new sentence is strong enough? You test it, not only with your mind, but with your body and your emotional response. Ask yourself, does this sentence make me feel lighter, stronger, more relieved, more capable, more grounded, more peaceful, more powerful? Does it change my breathing, my posture, my energy? Does it create movement? If yes, keep it. If not, rewrite it. Refine the wording. Make it more personal. Make it more emotionally alive. Make it feel more true in your body. Do not settle for a sentence that sounds nice, but changes nothing. You are not collecting pretty words. You are building new internal commands. So here is your task for the next 7 days. Take your top dominant patterns. Write new, powerful opposite sentences for each one. Say them, feel them, test them, refine them if needed. The goal is not perfection. The goal is emotional direction. And after that, we move into step 3, where we begin building the program even deeper, together. If part 1 helped you identify the pattern, and this part helped you rewrite it, then step 3 is where you begin installing it more deeply into your system. So do the work. Do not rush this step. Build the sentences carefully. Make them alive and let them become the new direction you rehearse. If you have not done part 1 yet, go back and do that first, because you cannot rewrite what you have not clearly identified. And when you are ready, continue with step 3, where we take this work even deeper.